The night was heavy in the jungle of Aridos. Strange glowing plants lit up the paths, and insects hummed with metallic wings. The air smelled of wet leaves and smoke from the village fires far away. The people of the land whispered to each other in fear. They spoke of a shadow that had returned. They called it the beast. Long ago, the beast had come out of the mountains, larger than 10 men standing on each other's shoulders. Its claws could slice through iron. Its roar could shake the stone walls of temples. The villagers had fought it with spears and fire. Many died before they drove it back into the dark hills. They thought it would never come again. But the elders said the beast never forgets. It remembers pain. It remembers blood. And it comes back for revenge. On that same land, a small human survey team had arrived from the skies. They were not warriors. They were explorers. They came with machines to measure soil, water, and the strange glowing plants. One of them was a young man named Daehyun. He was quiet, gentle, and unlike others in his crew. While most feared the dangerous animals of Aridos, Daehyun had a gift. Birds landed on his shoulders. Insects with shining wings circled him but never bit him. Even the shy, deer-like creatures of the forest allowed him to touch their silver fur. The villagers whispered about him too. Some called him blessed. Some called him foolish. One evening, Daehyun wandered deeper into the jungle. The air was cooler, and the twin moons hung low, glowing like white fire above the tall trees. He heard a sound, soft at first, then louder, a growl. He froze. The sound came from the clearing ahead. Slowly, carefully, he pushed the leaves aside and stepped forward. What he saw made him stop breathing. 2 cubs were rolling on the ground, their fur striped silver and black, their eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. They were bigger than wolves, their paws heavy as stones. These were not ordinary animals. These were the children of the beast. At first, the cubs hissed at him. Their sharp teeth glimmered, and their tails whipped the air. Daehyun did not run. He sat down slowly on the grass. His hands were open, his movements calm. He spoke softly, as if talking to a friend. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." His voice was low, steady, almost like a song. The cubs tilted their heads, watching him with bright eyes. Their growls became softer, less sharp. One of them sniffed the air and stepped closer. Daehyun stayed still. The cub pressed its nose against his hand. He did not flinch. The other cub followed, nudging his arm as if testing him. And then, just like that, they relaxed. They began to play. They jumped around him, batting at his sleeves with their giant paws, rolling in the grass, and purring like thunder. Daehyun laughed quietly, his fear gone. He pulled out a small glowing orb from his pocket, a toy his crew used for training drones. He tossed it gently, and the cubs ran after it, their eyes shining with joy. They chased the orb clumsily, tripping over each other, their growls turning into playful sounds. Daehyun watched them with a smile. He felt something strange in his chest, something warm. These cubs were not monsters. They were just children, curious and full of life. He reached out and stroked their fur, smooth yet powerful under his hand. He thought about the villagers' fear, about the stories of blood and fire. How could they hate creatures like this? But Daehyun did not know. In the deep shadows of the trees, the beast was already watching. Its golden eyes burned like flames as it saw its cubs playing with a human. Its chest rose and fell, filled with old rage, filled with memory of battles long ago. The ground seemed to tremble under its weight. The beast had returned for blood, and it had found its children with him. The beast did not step out at once. It waited in silence, watching the human with its young. The memory of spears and fire burned inside its heart. Humans had scarred it long ago, leaving marks that would never heal. It had returned to Aridos with rage, ready to destroy anything in its path. But now, what it saw confused it. The human was not attacking. He was not holding a weapon. Instead, he was laughing while its cubs played around him. The cubs were too young to understand danger. They trusted easily, and now they trusted the stranger. They leaped clumsily, chasing the glowing orb Daehyun tossed into the air. Their deep growls turned to playful chirps as they tumbled over each other. They rolled against Daehyun's legs, their massive bodies already strong but harmless in their play. The beast's jaws tightened. Its cubs should not be safe with humans. Humans were killers. Yet here they were, alive, happy, and unafraid. A sound came from the trees behind Daehyun. It was Daehyun, his crewmate. She had followed him quietly, worried that he had wandered too far into the jungle. She stepped into the clearing and froze when her eyes landed on the towering shadow between the trees. The beast's body shimmered under the moonlight, its silver mane bristling, its claws digging into the earth. Her breath caught in her throat. She wanted to scream, but no sound came. Daehyun noticed her and raised his hand. His voice was low but firm. "Don't move, Daehyun. It's watching us." She stood frozen, her heart pounding. The cubs stopped for a moment, sensing the tension. Then, one of them picked up the glowing orb and dropped it at Daehyun's feet, urging him to throw it again. The human bent down, his hand steady, and tossed the toy into the air. The cubs roared happily and chased it. The beast tilted its massive head, its rage slowly mixing with confusion. Was this really the same kind of human it had fought centuries ago? Could one human truly act without hatred? From the edge of the jungle, villagers had gathered too. They had followed the strange roars of the cubs, and now stood trembling as they saw the beast return. Many gasped, some prayed, others turned their faces away in fear. They expected blood. They expected the beast to strike the human down at any moment. But instead, the great creature only stood and watched. The ground shook when the beast finally stepped out of the shadows. It was larger than the villagers remembered, its body strong as stone, its eyes burning golden fire. Every man and woman fell silent. Even the leaves seemed to stop moving. Daehyun's legs trembled, but Daehyun stayed still. He looked directly into the beast's eyes. His heart pounded, but he did not turn away. He spoke again, calmly, though his voice shook a little. "I mean no harm. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt you." The beast's growl rumbled like thunder, echoing through the valley. The cubs ran back to their parent, rubbing against its legs, purring loudly as if asking for protection. Then they turned their glowing eyes back to Daehyun, calling softly to him, wanting him to play again. The beast looked down at them, then at the human. Its rage clashed with their innocence. It had returned for revenge. But for the first time in its long memory, it hesitated. The silence in the clearing was heavy. Every villager held their breath, waiting for death to come. Daehyun's hand shook, her voice trapped in her throat. The beast towered over them, its mane glowing faintly under the moons. Its cubs pressed against its legs, but their eyes kept turning back to Daehyun, begging him to continue their game. Daehyun's heart raced, but his voice stayed calm. "You see? They trust me. I will not harm them." His words were simple, but they reached across the gap between them. The villagers thought he was mad, speaking to a monster that had destroyed their ancestors. Yet the beast did not strike. It listened. Its great head lowered slightly, its golden eyes locked on the young man. The cubs whined softly, rubbing against their parent. They pushed their heads forward, almost urging the beast to understand. Daehyun slowly crouched, picking up the glowing orb. His hand trembled, but he threw it once more. The cubs bounded after it with loud cries, their joy filling the night. The beast watched them, torn between anger and confusion. Could these humans truly be different? The villagers began to murmur. Some begged Daehyun to run. Others cursed at him, saying he would bring death on them all. But no one moved closer. Fear kept them frozen. Daehyun whispered, her eyes fixed on him. "Daehyun, please, come back. Don't risk this." But Daehyun shook his head. "If I leave now, it will see fear again. It will remember only war. But if I stay," he did not finish the words. He only looked back at the beast. For a long moment, the beast stood silent. The old rage in its chest burned like fire, reminding it of the humans who had scarred it long ago. But then it looked at its cubs. They purred and growled happily, their glowing eyes filled with trust for the young human. They were not afraid. They were safe. And in their safety, the beast felt something it had not felt in centuries: doubt. Slowly, the beast lowered its head closer to Daehyun. Its hot breath swept over him, smelling of smoke and wild earth. Its growl shook the ground, but it did not strike. Daehyun did not move. He met its eyes, steady and calm. "You are not a monster. You are a parent, and they need you, just as you need them." The words echoed softly in the clearing. The villagers stared in shock. Daehyun's eyes filled with tears, both fear and wonder. No one had ever spoken to the beast like this. No one had dared. The beast's body trembled, its claws sinking into the soil. But then, to everyone's disbelief, it lowered itself onto its front legs. Not in attack, but in surrender. The cubs ran back to Daehyun, pressing their glowing fur against him as if choosing him as part of their family. The villagers gasped. Some fell to their knees. The impossible had happened. For the first time, the beast had bowed its head to a human. That night, the valley of Aridos was no longer filled with fear. The beast did not roar for blood. It stayed in the clearing, watching as its cubs curled beside Daehyun. The villagers remained at a distance, their faces pale with disbelief. They had prepared for death, but instead they saw peace. Children whispered to their parents, asking if the beast was truly a monster or something else entirely. The firelight from the village soon stretched into,